Metal vocal enthusiasts of the internet, good to see you. Good to have you here. To the returning viewers, what's up? Love you bunches. Mark with Kardavox Academy here. And today, we're going to do some metal vocal analysis of this new Kage Archer and Taylor Barber release. And I'm pretty excited because, quite honestly, this kid is living the dream that I and many other older folks had back in the day. So I'm excited to watch this kid's career grow, and I've only ever seen small clips, of this kid's voice. So very excited to see. Plus, I've seen the Taylor tongue roll clips that we've all seen on the internet. So I'm excited to get into it. Now, if this is your first time on the channel, I am a metal vocal coach. I'm an extreme metal vocal educator, I guess you could say. I've been doing this for almost 10 years, teaching people how to go safely and efficiently so they don't hurt themselves. So let's get into it. Let's look at this. What is it called? I literally just put Carry the Weight. Let's check out Carry the Weight by Kage Archer featuring Taylor Barber. Here we go. Check the levels real quick. Looking good. And bam. I would have thought back when I was like 13 or 14, I would have thought this kid was so cool. I mean, it's because he is cool, right? But I was going to like I was at a tiny little Christian private school, and I would have been like, he's singing that evil music. He's so cool, but I don't admit it, right? So awesome so far. Very bouncy. I love the bouncy. Very playful. We've got a really strong kind of Corey Taylor, kind of Slipknot-ish pitched growl, pitched roar. A lot of people, I have for a very long time referred to this as like a false chord roar, basically where you have your false chord sound, hey, and then you add some pitch into it. Hey, whoa, yo, whoa. It's a very open and airflow permissive technique, right? We can hear that he's got a really good balance. One thing I'm listening to whenever I hear a vocalist utilizing pitch in their screams is I'm listening to the sound of the vocal cord connection, right? Does the vocal cord connection sound like this underneath? Or does it sound like this underneath? Or does it sound like this underneath? Right? That can tell us a lot about the technique. One thing that's really interesting to think about with metal vocals is tissue rigidity, right? And tissue rigidity is going to have a direct impact on the way that the vocal sounds, because it's going to dictate how fast and how slow and how quick things are vibrating, right? So to me, this builds on, and you all can hear this as well, a really well-aimed shout, right? Almost like a belt, sort of, delivered as like a taunt, yo, what's up? Yo, what's up? Whoa, right? So it's got a very cool tone. Let's go ahead and keep going though. I also love his delivery. I love the way we'll talk about that in a second, but the way we deliver vocals is just as important, sometimes more important, than the way that the gravel and grit sounds. Let's keep going here. But there's something that you can't see, make you wanna live on the floor right in front of me, please. All these words are reality, now you're just a fucking soul watching us to burn me. But there's something that you can't see, make you wanna live on the floor right in front of me, please. All these words are reality. I want to point out something really smart. That he's what a good screenshot. What a good screen. Look at the aggression on his face. I love that. I'd be proud if this was my kid. I'd be very proud of this. That guy, I sound so old, but I mean, look at me. I got all this in my beard, right? So anyway, he's doing something very smart, right? And I think that this is kind of what can maybe not make or break certain vocals, or these like sort of pitched like shouty vocals. But I think it's something that is very important. And it's what I was referencing before, which is the delivery, right? So I don't know the lyrics. I can't understand all of them. I don't care about any of that. But one thing that we hear is there's a lot of like, there's the lyric writing, there's like these quick staccato movements and then ease off of the, not staccato, I'm sorry. Much of the song is staccato. like plosive sounds. Like the beginning of the sounds I hear like pa ta pa pa ta ta pa pa, and he's like sort of spitting down on those sounds. So like let's say I say pata pata pata. Okay, because again I don't know the lyrics. I could just dry straightforward say hey pata pata pata, and that's cool, right? That's cool. Or I could kind of give some disdain to the tone, and that's what I hear him doing here. So I hear this like he's angry. He's angry at the words. So like instead of bata bata, it's bata bata ba. So you bata bang bang. So ba. Do you hear that like that aggression, that almost spit? Like not necessarily spit coming out of the mouth, but spit as in like blah, like oh, you can hear the aggression in his voice, which I think is really cool. I don't know if those were his highs or Taylor highs being layered in, but I like how some of those lows, I mean, that's Taylor, right? We can hear it. I like how Taylor's slowly getting layered in. I'm assuming his feature is coming up here pretty soon. But, you know, I think one thing that this kid has that is really hard to build in metal vocals is attitude, right? He's got a lot of attitude in his voice. He's not just going, ah, he's going, you know, right? And that took me a long time to learn. I'm going to tell you, like, I would not be surprised. I mean, even now, like he's pretty good, and he's gonna be better than me. I guarantee you that. It took me. I sucked for so long, y'all. I was so bad. When I auditioned for my band Kardashev, the bassist literally took the guitarist aside and said, "Do not let this guy in." And he was right to say that because I was terrible. I had absolutely no guidance when I was starting, and you know, this kid has clearly put in some work. If you're out there, by the way, and you want to start metal vocals and you have absolutely no idea how to get started, I actually just recently released a free course. You can click the link in the comment, the pinned comment and in the description. And this course, basically, I'll keep this super brief. This course, basically, it doesn't tell you like, here's how to do false chord, here's how to do fry. It talks to you about how to start feeling, understanding, and releasing your voice so you're ready to start doing distortion. Basically, I walk one of my students through finding his voice. So you can, it's 100% entirely free. You can check it out in the link below. But I'm excited to get to this feature. Let's go ahead and get to this feature. Here we go. That's really smart feature work. That's very smart feature work. I want to listen to this. I want you to listen to this again. And I'm not going to give you the answer. Okay, well, there's no answer. I'm not going to give you what I noticed. I want you to listen to this, and I want you to temporarily like turn off your like jamming out brain, right? And I want you to turn on your vocal analysis brain and your composition analysis brain, right? So Taylor comes in, right? Let's talk about this. Let's take the time we need to dissect this, because this is an example of what I view is really smart feature work. It's not just the vocalist coming in and being like, hey, here I am, bye. There's actual thought behind it. So let's go. So we have Taylor come in really low. He's got more of these like those really low, like deep tones, like the more perceivably pitchless, slightly more compressed types of tones. That's not exactly how he's screaming, but it's in that like sonic real estate, right? And so he's really, really low. Then we have Kage come in and he's doing higher stuff to contrast, and it's very airflow permissive again. He's up here, right? Again, very, very loose. Kage's technique, it tends, and again, like I've seen a couple clips of this kid in this song, so I can only speak to what I've heard. Maybe he does other types of screams as well. But a lot of his screams are very loose, open, and airflow permissive. And that is an excellent, excellent thing to do. One thing I have found when I have a student who starts with like looser types of screams and then comes to me to learn something a little bit more engaged, a little bit more compressed, that is generally a little bit easier than if I have someone who's done like a lot of like really pressurized like fry tones, and then they need to loosen up because their muscle memory learns how to squeeze first and then has to learn how to relax. It's generally easier to go from relaxed to engaged than engaged to relaxed. That's just my experience, right? And so it's a very smart place for him to be building his vocal career, and it's very smart feature work. Then, right, so also Taylor comes in and he sounds incredibly inhuman. Like Kage so far in this song, he's utilizing pitch. He sounds like an angry person, right? Taylor comes in, he sounds like a monster. Kage then comes in, contrasts the lows, sounds like more of a monster, right? Then he has this, whenever I see the name Kage, I think Kage from Virtua Fighter 4. I want to call this kid Kage from the ninja character, right? But anyway, but then he comes in and he's got these like purely true chord onsets. Like check this out. Like listen to this. Yes, I have Hear that charge up? I always think of Amur. Amur was the first band that at least I ever heard that. He's got this say you wanna play, right? He's got like this lead in, right? That's really, really cool and very nicely balanced too. So that's a really strong feature. To me, that's a feature where like, and it's okay, by the way, if people do features like this where they're like, hey, here's an empty spot on a song, do whatever you want. I've done features like that before, right? But this is a feature where, you know, when the songwriting was being done, I feel like they picked the vocalist and played to the strengths and built the contrast. So very cool. I love to hear that kind of stuff. Let's keep going. Do you hear how he hangs on to that open tone? Bop, bop, ba-da, ba-da, bop. And he kind of presses into that tone. That's the stuff that sounds very Corey Taylor to me. Sick. You know, that was a really interesting bleh. That's really good. Okay, we're gonna talk about the blab, but listen, that's pretty good. That's pretty good airflow control. Listen to this real quick. Let's dissect this sound. One second here. So do you hear that? Do you hear that? Stupid thing to say. It's a song. Of course you have to freaking hear it. But we move to this high vocal, right? And this high vocal is really hella open. Really hella open, right? Ah. And then we move through what almost sounds like a tunnel. I don't know if he was like tongue up or tongue tilted down. Sounds like tongue tilted up to me. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but and it sounds to me, granted this, I can only hear it. I can't see it. I wasn't in the room with him when he tracked it. It sounds like he closes his jaw almost down to the point where his teeth are touching. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but that's what it sounds like, right? And so let's listen to that one more time. That's actually really kind of impressive. He ends on like an His front teeth may have been touching. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know the answer to that. But the reason I think this is impressive, A, isn't just because it sounds cool, right? It does sound cool, but It's also because when we think of our voice, we need to be thinking about air. And when we think about air, we need to be thinking about airflow. And flow is a physical thing. Airflow has pressure, right? So when we're going right, we have open, no occlusion. Occlusion means like a closure, right? So and then the tongue comes up, so we're starting to partially occlude that vocal tract. Then we close down. Right, and that's going to change the air pressure and airflow dynamics. Right now, when you do it with your clean voice, it doesn't really feel that different. You don't really feel, I don't anyway, feel a buildup of pressure. But if you do it with like distortion, right, which a lot of distortion takes more airflow, or not all of it, don't at me in the comments, but much vocal distortion, especially extreme metal vocalization, requires more pressure or more air or more something, right? So right, I definitely, as I close, have to lean in on my abdomen. I wonder, I don't know the answer to this. So this would not be mezza di voce. It would not be. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is. Mezza di voce is basically a term that references the ability to take your voice, start at a low level, increase to a very high level, and back on the same pitch, right? So and when I do this, this is me just exploring, this is me just having fun. When I go, I feel my support system do something similar, not exactly the same, as to when I close down on that. So it would be interesting to dig into that a little bit more and see what the commonalities are, if any. Let's keep going though, because I like this bleh. This is an interesting bleh. Let's talk about that bleh real quick. So this is kind of interesting. Now, this is a cool bleh, and I'm thinking about how to say it exactly. So metal vocals follow trends. A trend never decides if something's good or bad, although people often confuse a trend with the deciding factor of good or bad. But there have been different moments where I haven't done some deep sociological study. I haven't, been a part of every single community, but there are some moments where I have kind of noticed these trends changing, shifting, right? A really good example of this is that right before, maybe not right before, but a lot of the lead up to roughly around the time that Tom Barber joined Chelsea Grin, right? And like a lot of those big Darko releases, everybody wanted metal vocals that sounded really, really full, really, really thick, really, really like, they wanted, they didn't want, right? They weren't looking for that. And again, I'm speaking mostly of like the deathcore world, because I know Travis Ryan of Cattle Decap has been sounding like, this boy's coming every second one. He's been sounding like that for years. So I'm talking mostly about the deathcore sphere right now. And then, Tom Barber comes out and he's doing a lot of these vocals that they're very clicky and they're kind of strategically thin. The sky is deep, I am a what? Right? And it sounded sick. And then all of a sudden, people, well, maybe not all of a sudden, but over the next few months, I noticed the incoming students, they were like, yo, I want those thin, like clicky mids. I want those thin, like clicky lows, right? So the thin clicky lows were never bad, but they moved forward in like the consciousness of what people wanted. This bleh is very voice forward. Now, I ain't sitting here telling you that's the first voice forward bleh I've ever heard, but it is a standout in the way that it's delivered. It sounds very much like he's speaking the word bleh with a lot of grit put on top. I think it sounds really cool. I think it sounds really sick. For the longest time, blehs, it changes a little bit if you get more into like the metalcore side of things, like if you're thinking about like Architects and stuff, but like the deathcore, and this is not like a full deathcore track. Don't get all genre specific on me, people. Just follow what I'm saying. But a lot of the blehs out there, they wanted to be, more monstrous. like those really monstrous sounds that don't sound like a human made them. And then you have this, which sounds very much like a human made it. So it'll be interesting to see, for me to see how Kage's metal vocal journey, the development of his metal vocal voice, and the trends of what popular coincide, if they coincide at all. That was a really long-winded way to say that, but you know, if you made right now, if you made it past the 20-minute marker, that's what you're listening for, right? Anyways, so it sounded very, very cool. Different than a lot of blaz that I've heard, but I'm ready for some new blaz. I'm hot, you know, moment of vulnerability here, moment of honesty. I've been ready for some new blaz for a while. So this is a breath of fresh. This is a bleh of fresh air. That was stupid. Here we go. I'm pretty over the stuff, but homie, you get it. This is your song, and you live the truth in your heart. It ain't for me, but I fully support how much gusto you put into that. But yeah, this is cool stuff. I love seeing this. I love the way his voice is developing. I love, you know, I kind of get the feeling that, you know, I'm sure he has his role models. I'm sure he has the people he looks up to. We all do all the time. But I really feel like he's following his voice for himself. And like, thank goodness, because we need a fresh wave of vocalists who sound different from each other. I'm just gonna put it that way. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, there have been many times on this channel where I do a song that has a feature, and people in the comments, this is mostly in deathcore, many people in the comments are like, oh, you didn't talk about that guy's feature. And it's like, because they sounded the same as each other. Like, I didn't know there was a feature because it sounded like the same freaking guy, right? They sounded so identical. I had no way to know that there was a feature, right? So I really like the utilization of true chord phonation paired with the less tight, more airflow permissive engagement of those tissues above, which is a wordy way to say, I like how he sounds like he's strategically shouting, yeah, so blow! His screams out. If you like this song, let me know in the comments below. Good on you, kid. Keep at it. That's all I got. So if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff that we're supposed to say. Again, if you are trying to start out your metal vocal journey and you don't know, should you be a fry vocalist? Should you be a false chord vocalist? I'm going to tell you that's the wrong question to be asking. And I go more into detail in that and how to free your voice in my free course, which is in the description and the pinned comment below. That's all I got. Many thanks, much love. I'm out.